Today, we're going to be talking about what happens when you are feeling stuck in life, in motherhood, with your projects, with your goals. Maybe you hit the ground running at the start of the year, but now you're feeling like, I just am endlessly researching. I had that experience. I'm having this experience. I'm working through it. And I want to talk about some of the things that I'm recognizing and understanding and doing for myself to keep kind of moving forward in this stuck point. That a lot of these tools and resources that help us when we get stuck are the same ones that can help us in any hard situation. And so if you want to dive deeper, I've got a free class for you. If you can go to thrivinginmotherhoodpodcast.com/joy, and it will share 6 secrets to help you completely change how you are experiencing motherhood. But before you go there, let's definitely talk today about getting unstuck. So my experience in the last couple of weeks has been that I just felt like I was just researching endlessly, and I'd heard this from you in our community. Like, normally my superpower is knowing exactly what the next step is to do. I teach that in my Made to Soar Next 90 Days program. You experience it. It's all built into the Thriving Motherhood Planner. And so for me, all of a sudden I'm having this experience where I feel like I'm just going in circles and I don't know what my next step is, and I don't know, have clarity about what would happen if a babysitter stopped by. Like, that's one of my big tests. What would I do if a babysitter stopped by? I would jump in right now and I know exactly what I want to do. Like, I didn't know. I was feeling muddy with some homeschooling things. I was feeling muddy with some business things, a little bit with our house projects. I had kind of just got to the point where I'd finished a bunch of things up and I was stuck with what to do next, which actually is okay, because first of all, if you remember, if you did the Create Your Vision Challenge, we talk about how there's these different phases of creating your vision. There's the caterpillar stage where you're crawling all around, you're figuring things out. Then you've got the cocoon phase where now that you have ideas about what you want, you're kind of building in systems and structures and gathering materials and making things happen. And then you have the butterfly stage where it becomes a little more showy. You see the fruits of all of this time that you've spent researching and putting in the groundwork and creating systems for things to happen. And that's where you're going to be a butterfly. Well, I kind of just got to the end of a butterfly season in my life. And so I was out back on the ground as a caterpillar, and I still am. I'm wrapping it up. But the problem was I was just going around in circles. I felt like, I guess I haven't spent as much time observing caterpillars as my children as I need to right now, but maybe they were just like going around and around on the same plant and not exploring more. I don't know. That's probably not a good metaphor. Anyway, the point is I was stuck, and I was starting to feel anxious about it, anxious about not knowing what to do, anxious about this phase that is actually good. It's supposed to be good. It's supposed to be fun. And I was feeling like it was not fun. Well, I was at church on Sunday and heard a reminder of a study that was done. And I'm just going to read a little summary of it. Jan L. Suman, a German psychologist, wanted to determine scientifically if this was true, that people who get lost are just walking around in circles. He took participants of an experiment to a large forest area and to the Sahara Desert and used global positioning system to track where they went. They had no compass or any other device. Instructions to them were simple: walk in a straight line in the direction indicated. Dr. Soman later described what happened. Some of them walked on a cloudy day with the sun hidden behind the clouds and with no reference point in view. They all walked in circles, with several of them repeatedly crossing their own path without noticing it. Other participants walked while the sun was shining, with faraway reference points in view. These followed an almost perfectly straight course. The study has been repeated by others with different methodologies, and all results were similar. Without a visible landmarks, human beings tend to walk in circles. This is a talk from Dieter F. Uchtdorf, Walking in Circles. He shares the study. So, I realized I was in that point where I was walking in circles. And here's the key. This is the difference between having fun exploring and walking in circles for me, which is I was spending so much time researching and exploring. I had given up some of these foundational morning habits that I have that anchor me with God, that allow me to co-create my life with Him, so that it's not just whatever I want and going from, maybe YouTube video researching how to do these things, or reading all of these books, or deep diving on all of these podcasts with homeschooling and gardening and business and parenting and anger management, teaching my kids emotional intelligence. Like, I was just going down all these rabbit holes. And And it squeezed out the most important thing that I do, which is to connect with God in ways that I talk about in the Thriving Motherhood Journal. Okay. So once I recognized that the reason why I was going in circles and not having fun exploring was because I wasn't anchoring, went back and started rebuilding some of these habits that I mentioned in the 6 secrets about changing how you experience motherhood. And have felt grounded. And so even though I maybe haven't made more decisions about what's next in my life, I don't know exactly what my next steps are, what direction I'm taking, I am feeling grounded again because I am now going through what I do every morning and have done every morning for years, except for when I get off the path and start going in circles. So let me share my back to basics, maybe morning routine that I do for every day that helps me stay grounded, helps me stay focused in what matters most to me. So the very first thing I love to do is just start by journaling. I pull out a journal, nothing fancy, and write and reflect about what happened the day before in any way that anything I need to write down. It might have been ideas that had come to my mind in the last 24 hours, epiphanies that I've had, and, impressions that I feel like I've had from God. But I start there. Then I pray and I open up my Thriving in Motherhood journal. And I start looking through some of the questions there. Just propping up my mic. We'll see how this goes. I start working through the questions in my Thriving in Journal, and I say, and I start answering the questions, what's the one thing that would help me feel successful at the end of the day today? Sometimes usually the way I like to look at this question is with, who do I want to be? Like, what is the thing that will help me feel successful because of how I behaved, how I showed up that day? And then my second question is, what are the next actions for my 3 priorities for the week? Now, this ties to my Thriving in Motherhood planner, my big 3 for the week. And so I'll look at my big 3 for the week and I'll see what could I do? What are the tiny baby steps today that would work me towards that goal? And then I say, what is one thing I could do today to make tomorrow easier? So I will look ahead. I mean, a lot of people do these things at night. I'm too tired at night. So I just do this all in the morning. But then I look ahead. What is one thing I could do today to make tomorrow easier? And as I look over my schedule, I kind of plan that in to my day. And I might write a note down in my planner, because I'm not usually looking at this during the day, but it does help me put things, kind of process things and work things through. And after I work through these questions, then I can pick my big 3 for the day. And I put those in my planner because my planner is what stays out on the counter during the day. Then what I do is take a moment and reflect. And I say, what am I grateful for today? What happened yesterday? How have I seen the hand of the Lord in my life today? What were my big wins today? And what were magic moments today? And what were some unhelpful thoughts today? And how can I think about these things differently? I answer these questions in the morning about the day before. That's when I'm just most successful. It's hard for me to come up with a journaling habit twice in 24 hours, but once I can squeak by most of the time. So once I have done that, there's still more questions to answer, but I pause because now the next questions coming up are, what would God have me do today? What is something that might challenge me today? And how would my best self handle that situation? What message can I give myself today? And what is one thing that we could do or work on together as a family today? But before I do that, I now pause and I open my scriptures and I start reading. Sometimes I just open randomly to any book of scripture and just start reading it, or I just pick up where I left off or go into a study. And I go back to just my regular good old notebook here and start writing down scriptures, like specific scriptures as I'm reading that resonate with me, that stand out with me, and typically are either answering a question I have or helping me dive deeper into one of these tracks that I have about parenting or about my business or about family life or homeschooling. And I write my thoughts about that scripture and how it applies to me and make it personal to me. And after I've done that, then I go back and answer those questions in the journal after I've done read my scriptures for a while. And I feel like in that moment, I am in a space where I am receiving ideas or revelations from God, being informed by scriptures, being informed by truth, and also being anchored to what truly matters, the bigger picture, what really matters to me, and kind of cut away all those distractions that are so easy when you go down these research rabbit holes, which if you're on the computer or listening to a podcast or anything, you're being advertised to, and they're distracting and making you feel like you have to do more things. So that is, that is kind of how I have done that morning routine. And so I would just invite you that if you are in a spot where you are, exploring or feeling stuck because you don't know your next steps are, or feel like you're going in circles, to just kind of slow down and go back to basics. For me, this is what I do in the morning, but the important thing for you is that you're just slowing down and connecting with God, if he's a part of your life, or spirituality, or whatever it is that works for you, to help you feel more connected to him and to get that anchoring. We talked about having the vision as your sun, and that is so true. But sometimes the vision is not there, or it's too hazy, or it's unclear. And always and forever, for me, anchoring myself and using my relationship with God to be that true vision, to be that true thing that keeps me going in the right direction, is so important. That is part of my vision. So I guess it's not totally hazy. Is really helpful. And again, favorite tool for that is the Thriving in Motherhood journal, because it helps me ask the right questions, that gets me thinking in the right frame of mind, to get the answers that I need to be successful in living that out. So thank you again for listening today. Again, go ahead and check out thrivinginmotherhoodpodcast.com/joy to be able to get a little bit more of an insight into how these other practices, a little bit more into the journal, to help you completely change how you experience motherhood. I would love to hear from you, your ideas for what you do to stay connected to God and kind of keep him as your anchor in your life, because there are many ways to do it. This is just my way. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm excited to talk with you next week.